Hello and welcome to the Ice Guys, brought to you by the National Hockey Now Network. This is the show that takes you into the world of the National Hockey League. Every game, every day, from a betting perspective. With pro sports handicappers, Ian Cameron, Alex B. Smith, and various guests from the world of hockey and sports betting. And now, here's your host, Ian Cameron.
Welcome to the Ice Guys, presented by National Hockey Now. Wednesday, January 18th, Ian Cameron and Alex B. Smith with you, ready to break down the Wednesday NHL card. We have 5 games, a couple more than we usually have on a Wednesday. Many games on national television, both sides of the border. I believe it's Pittsburgh, Ottawa, and Colorado, Calgary in terms of the Sportsnet doubleheader, the Canadian national TV doubleheader. And I believe it's Boston, New York Islanders, Dallas, San Jose for the TNT doubleheader in the U.S. tonight. But anyway, you got national TV doubleheaders both sides of the border. So ready to break down those games in just a second. First, we'll look back on yesterday, a busy Tuesday it was in the NHL. And after a very, very disappointing Monday for me with the betting card, a lot better results last night. No question about that. Up and down the board. Philadelphia, 5-2 win over Anaheim. A nice victory for the Flyers. We're not talking about the whole Provorov thing. You know, everybody's got their issues with that, obviously. But as far as the hockey game goes, the Flyers with a 5-2 win. Hat trick for Kevin Hayes in that game last night. And another very good performance from Samuel Ersson for the Flyers in net. He continues to play very, very well, this rookie goaltender for the Flyers, and they keep winning games with him. And we look at this as a situation where, the Philadelphia Flyers are getting great goaltending from the kid. And I think he's on a undefeated, unbeaten run right now. As a goaltender in the NHL. I think actually there was one game he lost that might have been the Carolina game, but I think even in that game he might have entered the game in relief. So, but anyway, he's played well for the Flyers, and he was again last night in that 5-2 victory that they were able to get over the Anaheim Ducks in that game. And the Ducks, tough spot after just, coughing up the game against Pittsburgh the way they did. They were up 3-2 late. They ended up losing in overtime. Minnesota, 4-2 win. I'm telling you what, they were fortunate as hell to win that hockey game. Minnesota, they were getting dominated, totally dominated in the first half of that game. Only in the second half did they start to slowly tilt the balance of the play in their favor. Even then, I thought Washington was still the more aggressive team. They had the puck more. They were in the offensive zone more, but the Wild found a way. They got excellent goaltending from Philip Gustafsson, a very excellent game in net for him for the Minnesota Wild, and they end up getting the 4-2 win over the Washington Capitals there. The upset of the night probably ended up being the Montreal Canadiens, 4-1 over the Winnipeg Jets last night. Here's another young goalie playing well all of a sudden. Samuel Montembeault, another solid performance in net with Jake Allen still hurt. The Canadians end up, being very opportunistic. Not the best performance from Hellebuck, just because there were a couple of those goals where he's kicking out these awful rebounds. And it's not the kind of stuff you normally see from him when he's on his game. But give Montreal credit, very opportunistic. Excellent scrap late in the game with Arbor Xhekaj and Adam Lowry as well. That was a great fight, spirited bout late in the game, and Montreal with a 4-1 victory last night. So Canadians now all of a sudden they've won a few games in a row after some struggles, and actually starting to keep the puck out of their own net, which again had been a massive issue since the Christmas break. They now all of a sudden, after giving up 4 goals or more to every opponent, they've now gone 3 games giving up 3 or less to every opponent. So improvements being made defensively by the Canadians during this run. Nashville, 2-1 win against Columbus. Just did enough to get by and get the job done, essentially, in that game was Nashville. The call on Cody Glass that I mentioned on the show yesterday, moving up to the number 1 line in the center spot, and he cashes in, gets the first goal of the game for the Predators. So that was a nice, I got upwards of plus 500, believe it or not, on Cody Glass to score that goal last night. So incredible price for him being on the top line. And Nashville gets the 2-1 win there. We saw the Chicago Blackhawks 4-3 comeback win against the Buffalo Sabres. Don't tell them they should be tanking for Bedard. Don't tell them they should be trying to lose games to get that number 1 overall pick. bouncing back in solid fashion after just a debacle against Seattle over the weekend. And I think that's probably more a bad loss for Buffalo than it is a great win for Chicago. I mean, if you're Buffalo, you got to find a way to win that game. You're up 3-1 in the third period. You can't close the deal against the Blackhawks on the road. That's disheartening. And those are points that if you're trying to be a playoff team, they could come back and bite you, that you only got 1 point instead of 2 in that game. Very controversial call on the third goal. It was a great night for Philip Kurashev, by the way. I think if you're going to look at Chicago player props in the near future, he's someone to target right now, because I think his play has improved significantly. He's been a massive impact offensive player for the Blackhawks in recent games. So definitely he is someone to keep an eye on moving forward in terms of player props. We saw Edmonton with a 5-2 win against Seattle last night. Over best bet for me cashes there. Seattle just ran out of gas a little bit in the third period, and I ranted and raved about just how they totally got the Seattle team blackballed from a scheduling perspective. Just brutal stuff. The 6-7 game road trip in the East, you go to Chicago in the Midwest, change time zones again to wrap up that road trip. They send you back home to face Tampa with just 1 day off in between after that game, and then you're back on the road on a back-to-back in Edmonton. So terrible stuff. A terrible hand from the schedule makers dealt to the Seattle Kraken, and it definitely looked like it caught up to them last night. Arizona with a 4-3 comeback win against Detroit in a shootout. A solid performance there in that game from the Coyotes coming back. Again, they got outplayed, but it was a very good night for Connor Ingram. Excellent in net for them. And look, they kept a lot of Detroit's chances to the outside, and that was the difference. And the Yotes finally get back in the win column. And again, some of those home cooking good vibes at Mullet Arena were able to return last night for the Arizona Coyotes. I said on Twitter, too, it's just funny because, look, I know it's not always easy. And I'll say it, too, personally, that for me, it wasn't easy doing shows at the very beginning, right? Butterflies, you're a little nervous. It's a new entity. It's not something you're accustomed to. But quickly, I became very comfortable, being in front of a camera, doing live shows like this, like the other stuff I do on YouTube. And sometimes it's an adjustment for people. But boy, I hope for our guy, Jimmy Howard, who is, of course, former retired goaltender of the Detroit Red Wings. I hope he starts to relax a little bit, because this guy is just, you can tell when he's on there. He's shaking, he's gripping his pen. He's got his hands gripped tightly. Stammers over his speech a little bit. He is very, very nervous right now doing these pregame, postgame intermission shows for the Detroit Red Wings. And I hope he relaxes a little bit in time. And I just half-heartedly joked on Twitter, just watch me on this show, just going a million miles an hour. And hopefully it'll relax you a little bit. You'll get some tips on how to get it done in front of the camera. But in all seriousness, I hope he works on it. And I think just give him some time, and hopefully he'll get more comfortable in front of the camera. And the last thing that I want to mention, and then we'll get Alex's thoughts on last night. I saved this for the end because we have a clip, too, to show you from last night. The Florida-Toronto game was a hell of a game. It really was. It was intense, physical, back and forth. The whole game was great except for the officiating. The refereeing in that game was horrendous, absolutely brutal. And look, it was bad for both sides, but I thought it was a little bit worse for Florida in that game last night. By the way, great performance by William Nylander. The tying goal to make it 4-4, and then the game winner 5-4 in overtime. Thank goodness, and I said this yesterday, I had a split between the Leafs in regulation, but also that Toronto and over 5.5 combo bet. The Toronto over and over 5.5 cashes with the overtime win. So that's why when you're looking at a big favorite, try to, diversify your portfolio and maybe make multiple bets, different types of bets on that team. Don't just put it all on Leafs in regulation. If I had done that, I would have lost. But I had a little on that Toronto and over 5.5, and that's what got me a little bit of profit out of that game as well. Plus the full game over obviously cashed with ease. It flew over the number. A great end-to-end rush by Nylander for the overtime goal. And as I mentioned, the officiating was not good. I thought it was a little bit more of a bad hand from the officials dealt to the Florida side. And head coach Paul Maurice agreed with that sentiment. And here's a little showing of what he had to say following that game last night. We'll roll the footage right here. Paul Maurice not happy. And the first line he says right at the beginning of this clip absolutely had me laughing my ass off. It was absolutely hilarious. Listen.
What's the end of that?
How would you put that win?
Game, right? Yeah, there'd be lots of energy, excitement, profanity would be the words. So we can't use most of them. you know what? Proud of our guys here tonight. Like, they flew us out to the West Coast, flew us back, flew us home, flew us up here and back to back us. And then they threw those two guys at us. I think we hung in there pretty good. I am proud of our group.
So they flew us up, flew us back, flew us to the West Coast, flew us back home, flew us up north for a back-to-back, and then they threw those two guys at us, referring to the referees in last night's game. Yeah, not very happy about it was Paul Maurice, and then he went further on later on talking about some of the bad calls. Here we go.
Body on body. Not a charge. They're both going in the same direction. No problem with the guy going to the net at all. That's hockey. But I don't know what the hell those guys were doing tonight, but it wasn't Florida Panther friendly.
Despite being shorthanded.
I like how he sounds so calm the whole time, just very, very diplomatic and still calm, but still expressing serious displeasure with the officiating last night, Alex.
Yeah. I mean, and you know, he's trying to obviously tiptoe that line and not get fined, but at the same time, you know, voice his displeasure. And like you said, and it's interesting, you know, that comment he made about the scheduling as well. And you talked about it yesterday, and you know, something's going to have to be done with these. And you know, I like to look at you know, a long schedule, especially this time of year. I like to, you know, look at, you know, 20 games out for different teams. And I see a lot of these. I know the Hawks have one in March where, you know, 9-game road trip, and then they sandwich a home game in there. And it's just really strange and bizarre how that, you know, kind of shapes out for certain teams. And of course, I get it, you know, like I said, they're dealing with all the different, you know, arenas and venues having, you know, other conflicts, NBA. Of course, when you get into March, you start talking about college basketball. Teams going to have to be away for, you know, a weekend or two, different things like that. But, you know, maybe more attention has to be paid to the balance. You know, they talk about this whole mandated 5 days off. I don't think that's really as important as maybe not saddling these teams with these long road trips and then throwing random home games in the middle.
Issue. I mean, that was absolutely ridiculous, beyond stupid what Seattle had to go through. Why it and I said on yesterday's show, the reason is they didn't want to have them go to Edmonton twice on the same road trip.
Which like
ridiculous.
Whatever. That happens. That's happened before with teams, you know.
Yeah. I mean, bookend it. What's wrong with bookending it? What's wrong with putting an Edmonton game to start the road trip, have them go from Chicago to Edmonton? It's a natural progression, east to west in Edmonton, and then you play the Tampa game at home, and you keep them at home for a few games after that. What's the problem with doing that? I don't get it.
I don't get it. I don't get it either.
Don't get it at all. All right, what else did you think of last night? It was a busy Tuesday.
Yeah, well, you mentioned with the Hawks game, and it's funny because I was actually doing a writer recap on games yesterday, and was all ready to write about, you know, a Sabres win, you know, snapping their, you know, road losing streak, and here they are now. Have lost 5 of the last 6. Hawks come back. Seth Jones with a great game, the goal to tie it, the goal to win it, and an assist. So nice to see him doing well. But like I said, that's a terrible loss for Buffalo, and another unnecessary win for the Hawks, really, when you look at it in the grand scheme of things. But Buffalo really got to do something, especially with the goaltending. And you knew Craig Anderson was going to get the start because it's the second of a back-to-back. Park Ridge native, probably the last time he gets to play in Chicago potentially. They're gonna have to do something because UPL is still not quite ready yet. Cameron and Anderson aren't the answers, and this is a Buffalo team that if they can get things rolling and get the goaltending, they could, you know, still be a force in that wild card race. But the way that they're playing right now, they're gonna bow themselves right out of it like they've done season after season after season.
In a very tough Eastern Conference, I think an Eastern Conference is deeper than it's been in many years. To give away points like that and games like that, it's tough, and it might come back to haunt you later on in the season. I think with the Sabres, with their goaltending, you know, we've got guys that have played good in flashes, but UPL is really, he's stepped up in terms of, he's gotten better than he was, say, a year or two ago. But he's still not at that level where he's going to consistently be great every single night yet. He is still searching for that. He clearly has talent. There's something there for sure.
Oh yeah, He's a year away. Next year he will be ready to be a true number one goalie in my eyes. But it's still taking some time to develop. He needs to be in a 1A, 1B system, but he needs a 1B that's a better option than the two they have right now.
Yeah, exactly. I think long term, he'll be, one of the two goalies on this team, and the other guy is going to be Devin Levi, the guy they got playing for them down in Northeastern right now in college, who they say they're gushing about the potential that kid has in between the pipes for the Buffalo Sabres. So long term, I think that's probably going to be the two guys that are going to be manning the net for them hopefully for many years to come. But yeah, disappointing loss for the for the Sabres last night to lose to the Chicago Blackhawks like that, no question. All right, let's turn our attention now to tonight. We've got 5 games here on this Wednesday slate. A couple of announcements first. I'll get this out of the way. That way we won't have to do it later in the show. The Ice Guys Live Betcast for January, as we mentioned already a couple of times, is next Tuesday. It's January the 24th, 7 p.m. Eastern time. It's a pretty good card that night. Looking forward to it. So if you want to join us on the stream next Tuesday, just DM me or Alex, and we will send you the link for the betcast before Tuesday night when it starts. Live betting, commentary. We'll have a few beers, shots, champagne in some cases, whatever the case may be, vino, anything you want. Yeah, looking forward to it. We haven't had a betcast this year yet, so to have the betcast next Tuesday, we're looking forward to that. Also, I want to make mention that, look, we're here for you every single day during the NHL season, and we take great pride in that we don't have days off. But we will be taking a very, and I'm looking forward to it, a nice little 4-day break around the All-Star break in a couple of weeks. So the final day of NHL regular season action before the All-Star break is Wednesday, February the 1st. So that's going to be our final show before the All-Star break. Wednesday, February 1st. We'll be off Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday following that show because those are the 4 days for the All-Star break, Thursday through Sunday. And then we'll be back Monday, February the 6th. That's the first day of regular season action following All-Star weekend. So that's the schedule. We'll have 4 days off. And look, it's nice when you have a long season and you're on every fucking day. Trust me, to get 4 days off, it'll be nice around the All-Star break for sure. So looking forward to that as well. So 4 days off around the All-Star break. Just wanted to make mention of that. All right, let's get to Wednesday's card. We'll begin in Canada's nation's capital. Pittsburgh Penguins, Ottawa Senators, even money here, -110, both sides, 6 the total right now across the board in this one. You got the Pittsburgh Penguins who are trying to establish their game, trying to find some level of consistency, which quite frankly they have not been able to do for the better part of the last several weeks. Just 3-7 in their last 10 games. They did snap a 2-game losing streak to the Jets and the Hurricanes with a escape by the skin of their teeth 4-3 win against the lowly Anaheim Ducks. So I really don't know how much you want to put stock into Pittsburgh winning that game against one of the worst teams in the NHL, the Anaheim Ducks. I'm kind of hesitant to back Pittsburgh right now. I've said that. Now, I was hoping for something better here to consider the Ottawa side, but even money here with an Ottawa team that's really no great shakes either. And I'm not really rushing to say, hey, let's back Ottawa after I thought St. Louis game was their step-up game after getting embarrassed by the Colorado Avalanche 7-0, and they get down 2-0, and they can't overcome that deficit, and they lose 2-1 to the St. Louis Blues on Monday night in a spot where I thought you'd get a step-up effort from Ottawa, and you really didn't get it. So, it's not like I'm rushing to back Ottawa here either. I'd probably still lean Ottawa, but not crazy about it. You look at the recent series history, we've actually, oddly enough, had over bonanzas in the past between these two teams. 5-3, 5-2, 7-3, 6-3, 6-4. The last game was actually the one under. It was 2-0. Pittsburgh beating Ottawa here in Pittsburgh. In Ottawa rather. Pittsburgh shutting out Ottawa 2-0. That was last February. But the over is probably what I'd look at before either side. And I'm just not rushing to back either of these teams in this spot. I'd actually lean Ottawa. If I had to play a side, it would be Ottawa here. But at the same time, I trusted Ottawa against St. Louis coming off one of the worst losses of the season. They still didn't get the job done. So tells you where they're at right now as well. What do you think here, Alex? Penguins, Senators.
Yeah, this is a classic pass for me. Like I said, these are two teams you can't trust right now, even at pick-em prices against one another. Ottawa's offense is just way too shaky right now and non-existent. You've seen the losses they've had pretty much, held shut out or held to one goal. They had one win. They ended up getting, last win, they had 5 goals. So just two up and down teams. If this is one, if you going to watch this and bet this, probably look for something live.
Yeah, see how the game starts out exactly with two teams that have been really erratic, both ends of the ice of late. There's no question. If you look at props, like I wouldn't go bonkers with props in this game, but Jason Zucker continues to be really solid lately for the Pittsburgh Penguins. He even got in a fight in that one game trying to wake his team up. I give him credit. This guy is playing, hard every single night, trying to instill some kind of spark with this team. He has 3 goals and 5 points in the last 5 games for the Pittsburgh Penguins. Very solid numbers there. So he might be someone that offers up some solid value in the player prop market for this Pittsburgh Penguins team. Of course, Tim Stützle has been the best player lately for the Ottawa Senators, no question. 19 goals now on the season, which has been very impressive. And he's gotten 29 of his 40 points this season in the last 21 games. So he has been just absolutely terrific. Yes, Josh Norris back from injury tonight for the Ottawa Senators is significant. Obviously, you're talking about a player that was expected to be top 2 center for this team, and he's going to be inserted back into the lineup between DeBrincat and Giroux for the Senators tonight. Stützle, Batherson, and Brady Tkachuk will continue to be the top line. Goaltending, we don't have a confirmation yet for Ottawa. We know it's Casey DeSmith for the Pittsburgh Penguins here in this game. Like I say, probably peanuts it'll be if I bet it. Pizza bets if I bet them, but lean Ottawa, lean over for me in this game. All right, next up, we've got Boston Bruins, New York Islanders. Bruins minus 200 road favorites, 5.5 being the total here in this game. The Boston Bruins dismantling of the Philadelphia Flyers on Martin Luther King Day for that matinee affair, 6-0. Very impressive considering just what a big win it was for them against Toronto, division rivals, very intense hockey game. They didn't suffer a hangover or a letdown or take the Flyers lightly or for granted. It was a team that came out ready to go, and they got the job done here against the Philadelphia Flyers, 6-0, shutting out Philly in that game. And keep in mind, Philly was playing good hockey going into that game, and sure enough, we saw the Flyers bounce right back last night with a victory against Anaheim. So you definitely give Boston a lot of credit for beating Philadelphia 6-0. Maybe when opening night, if they had beaten Philadelphia 6-0, you say, big deal. Philadelphia is going to be one of the worst teams in the NHL this season. But when they beat a Philly team that had won 6 of their last 7 going into Monday, you do give the Bruins their share of credit for that win. Again, the Bruins continue to play without Jake DeBrusk, but you wouldn't know it. Bergeron, Marchand, Pasternak, Krejci has stepped up. He had a good game against Philadelphia as well. They've gotten, obviously, some contributions as well from Frederick, Coyle, Hall at times offensively for this team. The blue line continues to be rock solid, 1 through 6 with Matty Grzelcyk, Charlie McAvoy, Hampus Lindholm continues to play well and really be aggressive. Not only the first pass, getting the transition game started, but also jumping into the play as well in the offensive zone. Brandon Carlo, Derek Forbert, Connor Clifton, really solid blue line for Boston, playing well. Again, they had that hiccup against Seattle in a brutal spot, that one loss against Seattle, because we talked about it's why I was on Seattle that night. Road Warriors playing great. Boston off the long West Coast trip caught up to them in that game against Seattle. But boy, have they responded nicely in the 2 games since then. Islanders are scuffling on the other side, 1-5 in their last 6 games. Overtime loss to Washington on Monday night, 4-3. They had a 3-0 lead in that game, could not hold it. Not what you expect to see from the New York Islanders. Usually this is a team, when they get in front, they hold leads and they win games. It's usually when they fall behind that they don't win games. But usually when they have the lead and they're trying to protect a lead, they're pretty reliable. Not the case when Monday night against the Washington Capitals. So definitely not what you like to see from the Islanders. What I also don't like to see from the Islanders is they've been, outplayed heavily 2 of these last 3 games. Washington did take the play to them. It was kind of fortuitous. The Islanders were actually up 3-0. Then they got totally outplayed by Minnesota and lost 3-1. They did have a good, solid game against Montreal, 2-1. But again, even in that game, they were barely beating the Canadiens. So I'm not in a rush to back the Islanders. I will not be on the Islanders. I don't know if I'm going to lay 200 here either with the Boston Bruins. I've been reluctant to bet these totals over, even at 5.5 with the Islanders. But that Washington game did end up going over the total. And we've seen Boston, where 3 of their last 4 games have reached 6 or more total goals. In fact, actually 5 of the last 6 Boston games have reached at least 6 total goals. So I might get in here on the over tonight in this Bruins Islanders game. It's 5.5. It's -120. The Bruins have trended that way. And actually, the last two meetings, Boston Bruins, New York Islanders, have cashed over bets. 6-3 Boston, 4-3 Boston in the last two head-to-head meetings. The 4-3 game was earlier this season. So 5.5, the over. I am interested. What do you think here, Alex? Bruins Islanders.
Yeah, that's what I played this morning. I actually laid at $1.15 with the over 5.5. I thought this is a good enough number. And of course, I understand why it's lined at 5.5. The Islanders have been trending under like crazy. But like you said, that last game, they've shown some weaknesses and some lapses defensively. Boston's got the offense rocking and rolling, like I said, despite DeBrusque being out. And in the last 7 meetings of these two teams, over 4-1-2. So, when you see that and you're seeing a 5.5 and a decent price 5.5, it's not like it was, 130 or 135. I had to jump in on that. So I'm going with the over. Like I said, someone in the chat mentioned Islanders have played Boston well at home. So maybe this is a good bounce back spot for them. And I think there's going to be goals back and forth. So don't want anything to do with the side. Just going to play the total.
All right. Over 5.5 for Alex. It's a front end of a back-to-back for Boston. They're in New York. They're playing the Rangers tomorrow night at Madison Square Garden. So don't be surprised if this is a Swayman start and Allmark held for tomorrow night. We'll see. It hasn't been confirmed yet, but we'll wait and see on that. It is Semyon Varlamov tonight for the New York Islanders. That is confirmed that he will be in net for the Islanders in this game. Sorokin, of course, pretty much been the number one for the most part this season for the Islanders. And it's been a while since actually Varlamov's been in the net. Last time we saw him was against Calgary. He gave up 4 goals in a 4-1 loss January the 6th. So not the greatest performance. His numbers are decent. They're okay. I think that's the best way to put it. 2.76 goals against, 913 save percentage for him. But over 5.5, I think it's not a bad look here, considering Boston's offensive efficiency lately and ability to find the back of the net. And even the New York Islanders, again, when they've played Boston, we've seen a lot the last two go over the total. All right, we've got Colorado and Calgary. This should be a good one. I think this is probably the game of the night right here. The Flames -135, home favorites, 6 the total across the board. Have the Avalanche kicked their play into that second gear? We've been waiting on it. And the last 2 games may be evidence that this team's starting to fire up the pistons, if you will, and get on a roll. Start to look again like the defending Stanley Cup champions. And we see in the last 2 games, Colorado with 13-3 beat down combined score of Ottawa and Detroit in their last 2 games. Now, those were Ottawa and Detroit. Calgary's going to be much tougher. No question about that. Calgary coming off a 2-1 loss to Nashville in their last game, returning home following a 4-game road trip, 2 back-to-back in St. Louis, actually a 5-game road trip, Chicago, 2 back-to-back in St. Louis, and then Dallas, Nashville, and now they are home here for a 4-game homestand with Colorado tonight, Tampa Bay coming up on Saturday, and then Columbus and Chicago after that. So a little homestand starting here for Calgary, but again, coming off that road trip, never a great spot by any stretch of the imagination. Only one previous head-to-head meeting between the Avs and the Flames earlier this season, and it was right back early in the season. First game or 2 of the season for these 2 teams, and Calgary got the win 5-3 over Colorado here at the Saddle Dome. It was a back-to-back, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, it was for Colorado because they actually opened their season the night before. Banner-raising night was on that Tuesday, so keep that in mind. So long road trip here for Calgary. We'll have to wait and see how they fare in this one. Someone saying that Cale Makar is out. I've not heard. Is that for sure?
That might be breaking news, actually. So.
That might be breaking. Let me just do a double check on that because I know he was supposed to play. From everything I've read, I didn't see anything affecting him that was going to keep him out tonight. But let me just see.
Yeah, he's out.
What we see. Yeah, Cale Makar will miss tonight's game due to injury, day-to-day for return. So, and look at the way he's playing lately. I mean, talk about a tough time to be without him. Holy goodness, he's played great here these last couple of games here for the Colorado Avalanche. 2 goals and an assist, 3-point night against Detroit. He's now gone 6 straight games with a point, 6-game point streak, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 9 points in the 6 games for Cale Makar. So that is unfortunate that he's out because I definitely was looking at I haven't bet Colorado yet. Good thing I haven't. But I lean Colorado here. It's the only side I'd look. I'm not laying a price with Calgary. I'm just not. I'm not comfortable in this spot off a very long road trip, laying a price with Calgary and with Jacob Markstrom in net, who actually wasn't bad against Nashville, but he's in one of these funks right now. They're not winning games more often than not with him in net. He's 1-3 in the last 4 starts. He's been inconsistent. He's been up and down. Markstrom will be in net here tonight. Again, he was solid against Nashville, but again, another loss, 2-1 in that game. But I still like Colorado, maybe less in the bet size a little bit, but in this spot, team's starting to play better. And again, sometimes you see the team rally around an absence. First game without the key player, everybody steps up. Colorado is still capable of doing that here in this game. So if I'm playing it, it's still Colorado for me, plus 115. I actually had the over circled in this game as well. Obviously, McCarr's absence, you lose some of that transition game. You lose the power play quarterbacking. It does hurt you a little bit, no question, offensively. But I think with Calgary, you see a little bit of a mini Edmonton trend developing the last few games where off and under they play over. That's been a little bit of a pattern for the Flames in their last couple games. Colorado's starting to trend up and over the total. Series history-wise, we've seen 3 of the last 5 meetings cash overs. So still Colorado, still over the total if I'm betting it, even with the Cale Makar news. What do you think here, Alex? Avs, Flames.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. Like I said, it's a big loss for them. This is a Avalanche team that's just been fighting injuries left and right to key players all season long. But like I said, can't back Calgary laying a price here, even at home. Colorado has won 8 of the last 11 meetings. And like I said, starting to get on a bit of a roll. So even at plus 115, I would lean toward taking a shot at the Avalanche. It won't make my final card, but that's the only side I can look at there.
And as for props go in this game, there's a couple good options. Certainly for Calgary, when you look at who's been stepping up lately for them, we've seen Blake Coleman starting to become noticeable again for the Calgary Flames. He's on a 3-game point streak. Well, actually got snapped against Nashville, but before that, he had a 3-game point streak. He's starting to find the back of the net. Obviously, it goes without saying, I've been mentioning Dylan Dubé all season long for Calgary. He's gone through a little bit of a cold streak, but a cold spell, but maybe showing signs of bouncing out of it. And then on the Colorado side, Lehkonen, McKinnon, and Rodriguez, that combination's been good. Big Val Nichushkin is back in once again for the Avalanche, healthy once again back in the lineup. City of Comfort, straight out of Comfort here, JT. 1 goal, 1 assist, 2 points against Detroit. Not a bad option either. Like I said, Big Val Nichushkin came back Monday in the game against Detroit from a long injury absence. Evan Rodriguez has been very strong for the Avs. 2 goals, 5 points in the last 4 games for him. So it's one of those games where if you're going to take some Colorado props, you definitely, sprinkle around multiple players because they've definitely got 3, 4, even 5 guys that are playing really well right now, contributing for the Avalanche and in good offensive form at the moment. All right, so that is the first 3 games of this Wednesday slate. Hit the like button if you're watching on YouTube. We appreciate it very much. We'll be back to cover the 2 late games, the West Coast matchups here for this Wednesday card, right after we hear from our great sponsors at Gramco.
All right, whether you or your team's game is on the field, screen, racetrack, or the ice, Gramco is for the game. Grown by farmers who spent years developing premium hemp genetics, Gramco provides customers with consistent quality Delta 8 products ready for any occasion. Gramco currently offers numerous Delta 8 products such as vape cartridges, disposable vapes, pre-rolls, gummies, wake and bake coffee, and more. Gramco offers an enjoyable legal high delivered discreetly and directly to you, and is also available at many American retailers as well. Get the best Delta 8 cannabis products on the market shipped quickly and discreetly from Gramco. If you visit www.thegramco.com, use promo code Ice Guys, you get 25% off of any order, and all orders on the site that are $50 and higher are shipped free with standard shipping. So live elevated with Gramco and check out their wonderful Delta 8 products today.
All right, we are back here on the Ice Guys, and someone in the chat, it's an interesting point. Yeah, it's Nazem Kadri against his former team. Does that mean he's going to find the back of the net tonight against them? It's worth noting in the 5-3 Calgary win earlier this season, he actually did not score for Calgary in that game against the Avs. But still, I wouldn't say no to looking in that direction. Obviously, I always say when you're playing a former team, You're up for the game. You want to make an impact. It's just human nature. That's what you see, with so many players in multiple sports. NBA, same thing. You want to play your best against a team that, you obviously didn't re-sign there. It was mutual. He wanted to go somewhere else. They probably didn't want to pay him, but nevertheless, you want to play well, no question. So definitely Nazem Kadri to find the back of the net. Not a bad look here. Yeah, Markstrom in net. We don't know for Colorado, but apparently it's looking like Georgiev might have just been confirmed a few moments ago. Yes, he was. It is Alexander Georgiev in net for the Colorado Avalanche tonight. And Jared Bednar's just basically had his press conference minutes ago. So we're just finding out all this information right now for Colorado tonight. Georgiev, by the way, looking to bounce back because the Florida game wasn't pretty for him. 5 goals. Hasn't started since then, but Georgiev back from a little bit of an absence here that he's had due to, a little bit of an injury, I believe it was, but Pavel Francouz had to start. So Georgiev back tonight for the Colorado Avalanche after missing the last 3 games. All right, Tampa Bay, Vancouver. We've got Tampa Bay minus 180 road favorite, 6.5 the total in this game. Very straightforward, over 6.5. You know what? You got to know that's what we're doing in this game. Been back in these Canuck games over the total repeatedly, and they've just been in one of those zones where, and it's the reason why they're going over the total repeatedly right now, Vancouver, is because they're actually scoring as well. It's not all that they can't keep the puck out of their own net and their goaltending is suspect. It's that they're actually scoring. This team's playing hard. If you actually watch Vancouver the last several games during that road trip, they were playing really hard, tough. They wanted to, it's almost like this, the vultures circling, blowing up the team, the trade rumors. Bruce Boudreau, is he going to get fired? And if he's going to get fired, when's it going to be? Is it going to be today? Is it going to be tomorrow? Is it going to be next week? All this bullshit surrounding the team. And the players have somehow blocked it out. And the work ethic and the level of compete and will from this team, it's there. And this is not a team that's folded the tent and gone home. It's not a team that's sucking their thumb and going in the fetal position. It's not. This is a team that's, still coming to play every single night. It's just that they can't defend worth a tinker's damn. They just can't. We've talked about it all season. They've been horrendous in their own end. Penalty kill has given up at least 2 power play goals in 3 of the last 4 games. And that's the issue right now. I mean, on that road trip that just completed, the 5-game road trip, they gave up 7 to Winnipeg, 5 to Pittsburgh, 5 to Tampa Bay, 4 to Florida. And actually, they held Carolina to 3. Give them credit. That's a low water mark for them of late in that 4-3 shootout win for the Hurricanes. And that game in particular was a perfect example of evidence as this team hasn't quit. They haven't folded here. They are still playing hard right now, the Canucks. It's just all their skill and all their ability seems to be at the offensive end. It's not really at the defensive end with this hockey team. So they've gone over the total now, 4-0-1 in their last 5 games. All 5 of those games getting at least 7 goals. That'll cash the ticket here as far as this game is concerned. Tampa Bay and Vancouver have also gone over the total head-to-head in 4 of their last 5 games, 5-2, 9-2, 4-2, 5-4 final scores in those games. Just actually recently, last week, remember, Vancouver played in Tampa, 5-4 it ended. It flew over the total. And look, Vancouver was knocking on the door of tying the game, if not for a great save late in the game from Andrei Vasilevsky. So, Vancouver played Tampa tough last week down in Tampa. Spencer Martin is confirmed in net for the Canucks tonight. For Tampa Bay, they play in Edmonton tomorrow night. Don't be shocked if this is Brian Elliott tonight. Don't be surprised because they might save Vasilevsky in reserve for that showdown with the Edmonton Oilers tomorrow night. And what a hell of a hockey game that is going to be. No question about it. So you might see a Brian Elliott sighting tonight. We haven't had it confirmed yet, but don't be surprised if that's where Tampa goes with their goaltending. And if you actually look at Brian Elliott, we've talked about how through much of the season his win-loss record's been very good. But when you dig underneath the hood, if you will, or open up the hood and look underneath the surface, the numbers are still not very good. 3.17 goals against, 897 save percentage. And in particular, the last few starts that he's had, other than the Chicago game, he gave up 5 to Detroit, gave up 4 to Minnesota. So he's definitely struggled a little bit more here in some of his last few starts. So I'm going to guess it's Elliott. We don't know yet, but I'm going to guess it's Brian Elliott. Either way, even if it's Vasi, over 6.5 is the play for me here in this one. Alex, what do you think here? Lightning, Canuck.
Yeah, I mean, you nailed it perfectly. Like, this is an over game, but there's no way I can lay $1.40 almost and go with a 6.5, but I can wait in game and lay $1.30 with a 5.5, which is probably what I'm going to do. I'm going to actually look for anything $1.25 or cheaper. Then I know I'm playing with fire here because of the two teams that can get off to some fast starts, but like I said, I'll be waiting for it, 3 minutes in. As soon as this hits 5.5, like I said, and I'm not going to wait for a plus price. I'm going to lay at least $1.25. That's my target shot. I'm going to play this over, but definitely feels like it could be a real up and down game. Spencer Martin, we talked about how shaky he can be at times, and if it is Brian Elliott, like I said, that just confirms it even more. Even though they've been winning with him, but his numbers have not been great. He's been allowing goals, so this could be a fun one to watch for sure.
Yeah, no question about that. This is one of those spots where I wouldn't be totally shocked. I wouldn't be totally shocked if Vancouver really makes this a game, maybe even steals a win. I don't think I can bet Vancouver, but man, this definitely feels like a decent spot. If they weren't coming off the road trip, it would be better. But Tampa, they could have Elliott and net. They've had the 4 wins in a row. They just beat Seattle. They got the Edmonton game coming up tomorrow night. It's not a Tampa spot. It's not a let's lay minus 180 with Tampa Bay spot for me tonight with the Lightning. And even more so if Elliott's in net, especially with the Edmonton game looming. And Vancouver's played this team tough. They just played them right to 5-4 last week. It was a pretty close game. It's not like Tampa was leaps and bounds better than Vancouver. Last year in Vancouver lost by a goal. It was 2-1. So, you look at these this Vancouver team, they've actually been feisty recently against Tampa Bay. So I don't hate a small shot with the home underdog here, honestly.
Yeah.
Vancouver in this game.
Rich in the chat mentioned about Steven Stamkos. That's right. He's at 499 goals. I might take a shot with him to get 500 tonight.
Yeah. And I'm not sure how many of the Canuck players associated themselves with Gino Ojic, the recently deceased former member of the Vancouver Canucks. Just awful that he is gone at the age of 52. But I know they'll do some kind of pregame tribute in the arena tonight for him. Yeah. There's no question about that. This will be the first Vancouver home game since his passing over the weekend. So you got to believe that Vancouver first period for that reason might even be something to consider. Just jump out of the gate strong, catch Tampa a little, off guard, a little bit. That's not a bad angle here. I might sprinkle on a -0.5 in the first period here or actually just a money line on Vancouver in the first period here.
I know they're supposed to be bringing back the flying skate jerseys at some point. It'd be cool if they could bring it back a little earlier in honor of Gino.
Yeah, that's definitely. They're going to definitely have a little ceremony tribute, a mention of him for sure, right before the opening puck drop tonight in Vancouver. And again, you can get +125 to +130 with that first period on Vancouver. I don't think that's a bad angle to consider here for this game tonight between the Lightning and the Canucks. All right, Dallas and San Jose. Final game now of this Wednesday card. This is the second game, by the way, of the TNT doubleheader. We've got Dallas -155, -160, road favorites, 6 being the total here in this game. The Stars coming off the win against Vegas to begin their road trip, 4-0 on Martin Luther King Day. Very, very thorough, impressive performance, both ends of the ice, timely goals, great defensive effort from the entire team, great performance in net from Jake Ottinger, who got the shutout over the Golden Knights in that great victory for the Stars. We'll see if they can maintain that level of play here tonight as they go to San Jose. On paper, this could be a little bit of a tricky spot. I'll say this about San Jose. They've, at times played Dallas tough. Even in the win that Dallas had against them at home on New Year's Eve, 5-2. I mean, San Jose got off to a pretty good start again in that game. And, of course, before that, San Jose had the upset win in Dallas, 5-4. 3 of the last 4 meetings have gone over. Both meetings have gone over this year. So there's something to that. Maybe this game could get over, but I want to see who's in net before I do that. And it is worth noting from the San Jose perspective coming into this game, they have obviously had their issues defensively. They have gone, I think 8-1-1 is their record to the over in their last 10 games. Big product of that has been inability to keep the puck out of their own net. Going back to January 6th, they gave up 5 to Anaheim, 4 to Boston. They had 2 to Arizona, which I think was their best performance, their only win during this streak. 4 allowed to LA, 7 allowed to Edmonton. And then, of course, they gave up 4 to New Jersey, a shootout loss. And, of course, they allowed the the game tying goal from Jack Hughes in the final seconds of that game. So definitely a team that's struggling in their own end. Series history kind of points over. Dallas, that was a really good defensive effort. It's the one little fear I have, but I'd lean over the total for sure. I'm just waiting to see the lineups here and the goalie confirmations. It's Reimer for Dallas. I'm just waiting to see if it's potentially Scott Wedgwood tonight. It's potential for that because I believe Dallas also plays tomorrow night. They do in LA. I'm sensing it's Wedgwood. It's just a thought process. We know oftentimes you're going to save your number one for the tougher game, the better opponent, and that would certainly be the LA Kings tomorrow night. So this could be Scott Wedgwood for the Dallas Stars, and he got ambushed by Calgary the last time we saw him over the weekend. Remember that game? I mean, they just Calgary's not exactly been lighting up the lamp, at times this season, and even they got Scott Wedgwood chased from that game on Saturday. So definitely the overs in play for me. It might be in play anyway, but certainly it is if Scott Wedgwood's in net and confirmed for Dallas tonight. What do you think here, Alex? Stars, Shark?
Well, it's another San Jose Sharks game, so it's another first period over for me. I'm going over 1.5. I laid $1.35, but if it is Wedgwood, I will also be adding on over 6, laying $1.05, $1.10 price. So, like I said, it's an over game for me. And like I said, San Jose has just been giving up goals in bunches, so that's just the way to look at first period over and then full game over if it is Wedgwood confirmed for Dallas.
All right, there we go. So first period over in particular for Alex, liking that here in this Dallas and San Jose game. As far as the props go for this one, I do want to mention a couple things. Wyatt Johnston and Ty Dellandrea are finally taking their rightful places in a top 6 forward role for the Dallas Stars. It's about especially Wyatt Johnston, who I thought early in the season was an offensive spark, even as a rookie, straight out of junior for the Dallas Stars. And you look at what he's doing now, he's going to get more opportunities. So keep an eye on a guy like that. Wyatt Johnston, only 19 years old, but certainly taking advantage of it. And Ty Dellandrea with 3 points in the last 2 games, all of them assists. So Ty Dellandrea has made an impact here for Dallas lately as well. On the San Jose side of things, a couple of lineup changes. Mikey Eyssimont is moved his way up to the top line tonight for San Jose with Tomas Hertl and Timo Meier. That's significant. We have to pay attention to those situations because we're always getting value. The New Jersey game was his first game up on that top line. Minutes went up from 12, 14 to 17, and he had 2 assists. So Mikey Eyssimont, keep an eye on that. Might be a value prop on the San Jose side for the game tonight. As far as Vancouver goes, when you look at their offense, certainly there's been multiple players that have been stepping it up for them lately. And offensively, you can go in a bunch of different directions. Kuzmenko's always a threat. We know the kind of season Horvat's been, and he's playing to basically showcase himself to get the hell out of Vancouver, essentially at this point, because he might be in a trade. And our own Jimmy Murphy, our own sleuth reporter, our good friend, and we're hoping to have him back, by the way, on Friday for his regular Friday spot here on this show, confirming from another source that the Boston Bruins are hot on the heels of Bo Horvat, talking with Vancouver, looking at the possibility of a deal that would send Bo Horvat to the Boston Bruins. And if you talk about how strong and great Boston is already, if they're able to add a Bo Horvat, now they're probably going to have to part with a roster piece, I would think, or 2. They're not going to want to, but they might have to. Certainly they're going to have to unload some key prospects in the system if they are going to get a guy like Bo Horvat. But the Bruins and Don Sweeney, the general manager, Alex, they are aggressively in pursuit of Bo Horvat from the Vancouver Canucks. Yeah. It's just a question of whether they get this trade done by the deadline.
Yeah, and the way Vancouver's playing, I mean, it makes sense that they might start selling off pieces and try to join into the Connor Bedard race. So that's something to definitely keep an eye on.
Yeah, it is. And like I say, that's scary to think for opponents and anybody in the Atlantic Division and anybody in the Eastern Conference, how good this Boston Bruins team could end up being if they end up getting Bo Horvat before the trade deadline from the Vancouver Canucks. All right, that is the Wednesday card. We thank everybody in the chat for joining us. Hit the like button if you're watching on YouTube, and we also appreciate those of you listening to the podcast version of the show. Check out patreon.com/Ice Guys, just $10 a month. Daily Ice Guys show betting card posted there, power ratings, totals charts, goalie charts, bonus content, and more coming on the way. Patreon.com/Ice Guys, just $10 a month for that. We will be back, Alex and I, with best bets to wrap up the show right after we hear from Manscaped. Support for the Ice Guys is brought to you by Manscaped, our good friends at Manscaped, who are the best in men's below-the-waist grooming. Their products are precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. Manscaped's Performance Package, the ultimate men's hygiene bundle. Join over 7 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with this exclusive offer for you, courtesy of the Ice Guys. Get 20% off of any purchase and free worldwide shipping with the promo code Ice Guys. That's promo code Ice Guys, all one word, ICEGUYS at manscaped.com. If my math is correct, that's about 400 million balls that you can help preserve with manscaped.com using the promo code Ice Guys. You get the Performance Package 4.0. It is a game changer. The Lawnmower 4.0. It takes care of this, among other things. It'll keep you trim as can be. The Lawnmower 4.0, waterproof. Same thing with the Weed Whacker, which takes care of your ear hair, nose hair. I mean, nose hair in particular. You know, I'm getting up there in age, and nose hair is becoming definitely more of an issue. This will take care of it. It feels like someone's tickling the inside of your nostrils sometimes. It pisses the hell out of me. It bothers me. I need to take care of that shit. This will take care of it for you. The Weed Whacker. Makes part of the package that you get with your Manscaped purchase, and the Manscaped Performance Package 4.0. You also get the ball toner. You also get the ball deodorant, keep you smelling good and looking good and feeling good down in the nether regions. This package is really going to make you feel good and look good and look better, slim, trim. That's what it's all about, and manscaped.com can help you out with that. So make sure you take advantage of this. Manscaped.com. Get 20% off and free shipping with the promo code Ice Guys at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com, and use the promo code Ice Guys. Unlock your confidence and always use the right tools for the job with Manscaped. All right, we're back here on the Ice Guys, and it's time for Best Bets to wrap it up for the Wednesday edition. Alex, what do you like for Best Bet?
Yeah, let's go Bruins Islanders over 5.5, laying $1.15. You can get it as high as $1.20. That's still a fair price. This is a Islanders team that, like I said, we saw some shakiness in their defense last game. It's a Boston team that's got a great offense, and we know it could be some goals back and forth, and we're always looking for these 5.5. So we don't have to wait and grab it in game. We can get it right now, laying $1.15. So let's go Boston, New York. Over 5.5. That's my best bet for this Wednesday.
All right, there you go. Over 5.5. Bruins Islanders. Best bet for Alex B. Smith. We've talked about the 5.5 totals when we've seen them the last few weeks, and that they've actually been gravitating more toward the unders lately. But this is one spot where I think you can look the other way because there's definitely things that point to it. The Boston games have hit 6 goals minimum recently. And, of course, 2 straight head-to-head meetings with the Bees and the Islanders have also gone over the total. So I think this is the right time to take a shot with an over at 5.5 as well, Bruins and Islanders. But that's not best bet for me. Best bet for me is going to be Tampa Bay, Vancouver. You know it. Over 6.5, minus 135. Do have to lay some juice, but, hey, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Had this Vancouver team over the total in their games repeatedly for best bet, including Sunday against Carolina. Back to the well with it here. Lightning, Canucks, over 6.5 for my best bet on this Wednesday card. And that'll wrap up this edition of the Ice Guys. Thanks to everyone in the chat for joining us. We appreciate it. Hit the like button on the way out on YouTube. A reminder, the Ice Guys is live 7 days a week, Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern, Saturday and Sunday, noon Eastern. If you can't watch the show live, download the Ice Guys podcast in audio form on all major podcast platforms: Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and more. Download the Ice Guys podcast when you can't watch the show live. For Alex B. Smith, I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Wednesday night. Enjoy the games and good luck, and we will talk to you again tomorrow on Thursday for another edition of the Ice Guys presented by National Hockey Now.